Next item is to set the time, date, and location for a hearing on the protest filed by Cynthia Bayless Bratton against the candidacy of Sheriff George T. Maier, noted on Exhibit E. You guys have your calendars. I'd like to see if we can get it done this week. I think Jeanette's going to be gone next week, Deputy Director. And
my only concern with trying to do that this week is that we're going to have to issue subpoenas, or we may be issuing subpoenas, depending on what we do here this morning, and to allow sort of receiving those sufficient time to gather documents, make copies, and then plan on attending the hearing if we're also requesting witnesses. And since it's today's, if they go out, even if they went out to close the business by tomorrow, they may not be received until Wednesday. I mean, I'm just wondering, as a practical matter for who's only receiving it, whether that's going to work or not. And if not, and we have folks absent the following week, maybe that pushes out a little bit further.
yeah, that's why I think maybe if we could, I mean, I think that there's, as far as I know, there's only 2 requests for subpoenas. One being the sheriff, which perhaps won't need to go out if the board decides that the sheriff would be here anyway, but those are issues we'll bring up in the next item on the agenda. But I think other than that, there's a sheriff from Harrison County.
Yeah, and his records, his employment records, and whatever else he's been asked to provide. I forget what all is in the list that we received from Attorney Conley. I'm just thinking out of courtesy, if who's ever caught up in this, so to speak, we need to give them sufficient time to gather documents and plan on attending. But you say that next
Friday,
week, the week of the 24th is not going to be feasible?
Not, well, the deputy director won't be here.
Okay.
I mean, you know, if we could do it this Friday, I mean, I think there's a condition, perhaps, who's ever subpoenaed to let us know if in fact everybody else's calendar is good.
Forward, start the process. If there's an issue, that's a good idea. I mean, because we need to keep this thing.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, we could always adjourn
If need be.
and later on. So, and how much time are you contemplating this is going to take?
I just have a conflict with Friday evening. I'm good Friday morning.
Okay.
Afternoon, brother.
You know, I mean, I'm anticipating 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
We'll start them at 9 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, 9 o'clock Friday, is that good?
Yeah,
Member Braden?
that's okay.
Okay. And I would entertain a motion that we set the time, date, and location for hearing.
Let's talk about the location next.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some obvious constraints here.
Right.
I don't know what our options are, whether there would be a courtroom available that we could use, or another facility that the county has.
Yeah. Did you look into that?
I checked into the, over at the county office building. They have a meeting room on the 3rd floor. It is booked all day on the 21st. It's a bit, and it's available on the 20th.
Did you check with any?
I think
Yeah, 21st.
Yeah, the 20th I'm not available.
Did you check with anybody at the courthouse?
You can check with the courthouse. We can do that.
Okay.
The third floor,
The fourth floor,
the fourth
yeah.
floor courtroom, which is used for, sometimes for arbitrations, sometimes for hearings,
Mediations, yeah.
mediations, visiting judges and all that. That would be probably a more appropriate setting. It's only more, a little bit more room than this place.
And I know there's another possibility over the county office building where the Board of Revision meets. We'll see if that's available too.
Well, I mean, the one problem we have is that we do have to set the date, the time, and the place today, especially in light of giving notice.
What about the room upstairs, like the planning?
bigger
You want to
municipal.
have Travis call over the courthouse right now? Let's see if that's.
There's no one there.
Oh,
There's no
well,
one
it's-
there.
oh,
We're the only ones working today.
Try the chamber, for the chamber meeting. Call there.
Yeah, why don't you check the chamber meeting, that's not a bad option, it's big enough. and, Certainly convenient. Let's wait.
Just pause.
While we're obtaining that additional information on location, why don't we move to item 6, which is the approval of contract with the court reporting service for the protest hearing, referenced item 5. I think that it would be appropriate to obtain a court reporter for the hearing.
The expense, I assume would be the board's expense, not the protesters' expense. Because we normally record our proceedings anyway.
Right.
What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think we would want it on our behalf in any event, to make a copy of records, so that we get our expense.
That's fine.
Entertain a motion.
Yeah, I would move to approve the director and the deputy director would be authorized to contract with the court reporting service to make a stenographic record of the protest hearing with respect to candidate Maier. Second.
And with the amendment that, at our expense.
At our expense. Second.
Is there-
For discussion.
Yes.
Do we need to pay for a printed copy of it, or are we just going to have it as a whole?
Typically, if we handle it in normal fashion, we'll get a copy, and we'll be charged for that, and then any interested person will either be protesting, counsel for the protesting party and the candidate, they will pay for their own copies of the transcripts.
Right.
It's typically,
Okay.
Roll call?
Chairman Khrushchev.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Lyon.
Yes.
St. John.
yes.
Okay, the next item is consideration of requests for subpoenas to be issued with regard to the Bayless Bratton protest noted on Exhibit F. It looks like the first item is a request for Sheriff Ronald Myers, both his appearance and production of documents listed. Looks like there's 4 different areas that have been charted out by our staff. And it appears that a number of these items may not be relevant to this, to what our function is and what our job is, and some input from the board members with respect to this. But, I mean, obviously, Mr. Myers, Sheriff Myers would, I think, be important to this board's determination of work history. In that regard, as far as the production of documents, maybe we've taken 1, 2, 3, and 4 as noted. Personally, I don't think any and all correspondence from December of 2012.
Yeah, where's
I don't have that.
where's your
Oh,
list?
it's Exhibit F.
Look at there's exhibit F. Got too many exhibits here this morning.
It's right after,
The protest.
The protest.
Now you got protest.
Last page.
That's probably Exhibit 2.
Long night.
You just work on the emails. Got a lot of letters.
There we go.
You got it.
Keep those.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think with respect to Sheriff Myers, I think that approval of a subpoena to him to be there as appropriate. As far as the Duke Takem, I think we should discuss what's been requested by Mr. Conley. First item is the NNL correspondence received by or transmitted from Maier's office from December of 2012 to date. I think is, personally, I don't think is necessary based on what we have to look at pursuant to qualifications. I know that their communications during that time period is relevant to our
I'd agree. I think it's overly broad, and it's all correspondence from this office. That would be a remarkable burden for that office to have to cope with. However, the protest, as I read it, is making the accusation or the claim that the employment was a sham, and arguably then correspondence between Sheriff Myers and candidate Maier may be relevant to that allegation.
Well, I mean, the only thing I would point out is that Myers will be here to answer questions and to provide proof of his employment. Whether or not somebody likes that employment, I don't know, is a question for our board. It's whether or not he was employed. And then the next item is any and all personal related records regarding applications, payroll records, pre-employment background checks, qualifications and certificates, job description, title, duties, commission, and resignation. I mean, I think a lot of those items are going to be provided in any event, personnel-related records regarding payroll, which I think is already included in our packet. There was some that was given to us, I think, from the auditor through Conley's protest. But in any event, I think the board members will weigh in on what their thoughts are with what in number 2 would be appropriate.
Well, I think the personnel record should not be particularly burdensome, number one, for Myers' office to produce. Although it's a little broad, but I think he brings the personnel records of candidate Maier when he was employed there, or when he was employed at that.
Okay.
Because that should contain everything else that's on this list. This personnel record, should the background check, should have, I don't know, there is a job description or not, but payroll records, et cetera. I think that should all be.
Right. Okay, the next item that he's asked for is any and all collective bargaining union contracts in effect during the time period of Mr. Myers' employment, including employment requirements of that contract. Again, I think that's overly broad and not really designed to lead to any evidence that would be helpful to us with respect to us determining qualifications.
I would agree. I don't see how a union contract has any relevance, can lead to relevant evidence with respect to the question of whether he was employed full-time in Harrison County, which is really the issue, and what that means. So I don't know, Braden, how you feel about that. I don't see what the claim would be.
No, I don't.
Okay. Then the next item is the any and all records evincing the public safety necessity for employment, the anticipated term of employment, all postings or advertisements for the subject position in which he was employed, and identifying both predecessor and successors of the position. Again, I think Sheriff Myers is going to be here to testify back to the employment, and will be asked questions with respect to that position and the description. I don't know that any records with respect to that are necessary.
Some of these are all public record, right? And if
Right.
the protester would like to collect the public records request and submit the information to us, we'd gladly accept all this information.
Yeah, I think there was some comment that there was a public records request already conducted.
I'm saying all the items that are listed
Yeah.
here are most of the public record. So, but I'm saying that the possibility for the protester to file these, if they'd like, is we would be accepted into the accepted information.
Right. Okay. Any other comments or questions with respect to the subpoena for Sheriff Maier? And the subpoena? If not, I would entertain a motion for a subpoena for Ronald Myers and the name is taken just for the personnel-related records of Sheriff Maier.
Yeah, I would move that we issue a subpoena for the personal attendance of Ronald Myers at the protest hearing, as well as the Dumas Tatum subpoena for the personnel record related to the employment of candidate Maier in Harrison County.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. The next item is to request an issue and services subpoena taken to Sheriff George Maier, requiring both his appearance and his production of documents listed below. The documents requested are any and all documents from the Keep George Maier Sheriff Committee at any point in time, including correspondence sent or received, all fundraisers, contributions solicited and or received, and any campaign finance reports filed with the Board of Elections. And I would indicate that the campaign finance reports are public record. In any event, again, for our purposes and what we're trying to determine here on qualifications, the request for campaign finance for campaign records and contributions solicited is not relevant to our working on the board.
Yeah, we ought to see what the campaign finance records have to do with the issues that we have to decide. They may be pertinent to some other issue that the protesting party or council wants to pursue that wouldn't be in this forum.
I agree.
And as Member Braden has pointed out, this stuff's public record.
Most of it's public record. I don't think we can take any action.
I agree. I mean, I think that even the subpoena to the sheriff, he is a candidate. I'm sure he'll be there. I don't know if that's
It
necessary.
would be wise for him to show up.
I think that, I don't know if we just take no action or something.
Since a request was made, I think we have to take an official stance. I would move that we not issue and serve a subpoena upon candidate Maier, requiring either his appearance at the hearing or for the documents that were requested as are set forth in this.
A second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, that motion carries.
I see Travis is in the room.
Oh, okay, Travis, would you?
We have the large conference room behind the reception desk at the chamber office at 9 o'clock on Friday.
That's not the community room?
She called it the large conference room. It's the one, you know where the reception desk
Yeah.
is, it's the room right behind it.
Okay, I was thinking of the community room, which is right off the hallway by the elevators, which is quite a large room. Did you ask about that?
Yes, that's the same one. Yeah.
Same one?
Same one. You can get to it by
Access from the
the
hallway or through the...
chamber office.
Yeah, that's big.
Right across the street.
Yes, 222 North Market.
It's on the first floor, right near the elevators. You need to go into the front door of the chamber where there's access. The water heater hasn't exploded recently.
All right, well, why don't we jump back up to item 5 on the agenda and set the time, date, and location for a hearing on the protest filed by Cynthia Bailey Stratton against Sheriff George Maier for Friday, February 21st at 9 a.m. at the Canton Chamber of Commerce Community Room located at 221 North Market in Canton.
So moved.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, that motion carries.
It's 221, did you say?
I think it's
It's a Millennium
222,
Building,
okay.
and there's a parking deck that's attached to
I
it,
saw
so
it.
you can...
It's
you
a
can-
block, just a block.
Okay, the next item is to certify the validity and sufficiency of partisan candidates positions noted on Exhibit G. I think that there is some concern with the protest being filed that there would be the sufficiency of the signatures for Sheriff Maier. Now that there was a protest, I think we have to note that for the record, and then certify everyone else, everybody as far as signatures are concerned, and the validity, and then make a record for to note the protest and the qualifications that would be determined at a later date.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, though, that we also need to rule on the validity of candidacy of the other candidate for sheriff. Candidate Dordry has to be in compliance with code requirements. There's no protest there, and there's no question about those qualifications. So I would move then, in accordance with revised code section 351305, that we certify the validity and sufficiency of the signatures of the partisan candidates listed on Exhibit G1, and that also pursuant to revised code section 301101F2, we certify the candidate Lawrence Dordry meets those qualifications. And also, in light of the protest filed with respect to candidate Maier, the certification of those qualifications be subject to the result of the protest hearing, which we've previously set.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries.
Is George on G? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's,
Top.
yeah, top, yeah.
I was trying to make clear that what issues remain open, what issues are not open. The statute, as we read it, requires that we certify the signatures on the petition so no one else gets caught up, if you will, in what's going on with respect to this one.
Correct.
Motion has been moved and seconded.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. I think we voted on it. Yeah. Any new business?
We still have to address because G2 and G3.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, that's
Yeah, this is the supplemental.
Central Committee petitions.
These are supplement, what's the number on these?
G, this,
G1A?
G4, like 3 pages, consistent with 3 pages.
I only use the 2 pages here.
yeah, I know. This year,
Give us a lowdown on this particular.
okay, all of these candidates are going to page as Democratic. Okay, I require portion of these are all located on G2. And the recommendations, any kind of a variance on the petition, and our recommendations alongside of it. I think it's self-explanatory. The questions for the variance and what we recommend is self-explanatory. If you'd like to go to the official
All right.
process.
You guys are both in agreement on this?
And then the following page is saying those apply to G3.
Republican Central Committee.
This is the recommendation on both the, you know, those comply with the statute where there's things that are left out or incomplete.
Insufficient signatures, failure to sign, circulator statement left blank.
we have to list these names when we make the motion.
If we just incorporate the exhibit by reference in the motion, that we can
I think if you certify G2 and G3 excluding the items on G4, which is like in simplistic way.
I'll make the motion to entertain.
Certified validity and sufficiency of candidates,
Petitions
G2 and G3, excluding the ones that say do not certify on G4.
Okay, excluding the ones that do not say G, not certified on G4.
And we're adopting the recommendations of the exhibit.
I'll make the motion to adopt the recommendations, petitions in G2, G3, excluding the say do not certify on, what was it, G4? G4.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. Any other new business? Okay. Okay, next regular board meeting is at this point noted for March 4th. That is subject to change, but...
No.
Huh?
And we've got that window.
Oh, that's right, that's our organization. Yep, okay, so that's a good date then for everybody. All right, great.
Move adjourned.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, we're down adjournment.